Hello. Today I'm pleased to welcome back to campus Kevin Obara, a member of the William Patterson class of 2008. Kevin graduated summa cum laude with a BS in mathematics and finance, and later went on to earn his MBA from Harvard Business School. Along the way, Kevin has held a series of increasingly senior roles in the global corporate finance and investment field. From his first job as an investment banking analyst with Goldman Sachs, all the way to his new position as the Director of Investments at Trident Investment Management, where he leads a team that uses data and technology to invest in small businesses and provide equitable access to the American dream. Prior to Trident, Kevin was head of corporate development at Handshake, the career development platform in use at more than 1,400 colleges and universities, including right here at William Patterson. So I'm looking forward to talking with him more about that. Kevin was part of the William Patterson family even before he came to campus as a student. His uncle is retired Casacos College of Business accounting professor, Dr. Maroki. As a student, Kevin was a 2-time academic scholarship recipient and a member of Beta Gamma Sigma, the International Business Honor Society. In addition to his philanthropic support for William Patterson, Kevin gives of his time by participating in things like the Career Outlook and Industry Networking event, or COIN, where he has served as a keynote speaker. So I'm so grateful for Kevin's continued involvement with his alma mater, and I'm pleased that he could be here with me today. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell me about why you chose William Patterson and how you actually chose your major? Was it really a family connection with your uncle?
It was. So Dr. Maroki is my uncle. He actually, an interesting backstory, he actually taught my father business in the 70s. And so this was always a part of like the story for me. So while he lives here in America, he would always visit us in Kenya and would always talk about like when you finish high school, you're going to go to America. So my elder brother also attended William Patterson University, and we were both sent here because our uncle was here, and we also got scholarships. So that's how we got here. It was always part of the story since the 1990s or 2000s. How I chose my major, I always wanted to do business, right? My father and mother are both MBAs. I come from a business family. But when I think about like my time in Africa, so like the smartest kids would be doctors or lawyers in Kenya. So if you got an A in high school, you were a doctor or a lawyer. But I realized the only people who had resources to buy the things that I wanted and to actually contribute to society, like building schools, taking people, building hospitals, the only people who had that money and those resources were the business people. So I always knew I wanted to be a business person to have that impact and buy the things I wanted to buy from the time I was a young person.
So tell me about your most enduring William Patterson memory.
It's the people, really, right? So when we came here, I was part of an honors cluster. Like there was a professor called Katerina Feldman who actually passed away. John Bowen was a professor of history, and Lance Risley is a professor of field bio. And they used to teach this course called the cluster. And so these are 3 required curriculum freshman courses, and you do them with all the people. And so you spend all the time with the same people doing these courses. And we all lived together in the towers, then in Century, then in Hillside, then in Haledon. And so these 3 people, we just attended everyone's wedding this year. I'm not yet married, but the other 2 did. And so that's my most enduring memories, like the friendships we made right from the first day when I was fresh off the boat from Kenya. Michael Sirakman, Mike Banker, Dan Valenti, we are still friends now. We look a lot older, but all those days in the towers, all those days in Hillside, that's what I remember most about here.
So it's interesting because, we redesigned our first year experience a couple years ago, and we put students in course clusters. So they take 3 or 4 classes together, and we're finding that those friendships that they're building is really doing great work for us in retention. So it's great to hear you had that same experience, when you were a student here. Was there someone in particular on campus, whether it's a student, a faculty member, or staff, who strongly impacted your college or your professional career?
I think that would have to be Professor Juliana Andropoulos. I remember, the biggest piece of advice she gave me is that, you could, know where you want to go, but you need to like make a plan to go there. And she was my partner throughout the process. Like the first time I went into her office, I told her I want to be an investment banker. She's like, oh, well, the jobs we have for freshmen are like MBNA banking loss relations, in loss mitigation. So my first job on campus here, my first internship was then as a freshman working for MBNA in loss prevention. So Dr. Juliana like waived the requirement because you had to be a junior. She's like, you want to go as a freshman? You're super ambitious. I'm going to make that change for you. Then in the second year, she was holding my hand. She helped me. She called Merrill Lynch for me, right? Like the financial advisor in New York, and said, I have really good students. Would you like to talk to them? So she actually helped me get my first Wall Street internship. It was unpaid, but from that base, right, the work I did in that internship, that financial advisor was able to refer me to the investment banking side. So like when I didn't know how to network, when I didn't know how to be consistent, right? And there were even other examples where she actually took me to Goldman Sachs networking events in New York City, like personally. So in the she was director of experiential learning at the time, and she really guided me and really encouraged me along the way.
So is the concept of networking very different from Kenya to the U.S.?
It is.
It is?
It is, because in the U.S., like it's very different. So here in the United States, like if you show up and you have a lot of elbow grease, you could get ahead. Like in Kenya, the relationship and who you know is a little bit more important, just because there are just fewer opportunities. Like here in America, like you show up Merrill Lynch, they've never seen you before. They're like, okay, do some work, let's see what you can do. But in Kenya, you might need a little bit more of a relationship to get in.
Interesting. So your career is focused on finance and investment, yet you've worked across many different industries. So what do you enjoy most about the work that you do, and how did your William Patterson experience prepare you for career success?
Yeah, so when I think about meaningfulness of work, for me, the one thing that many things drive meaningfulness, but I think the one common thread when I think about all my roles has been the opportunity for entrepreneurship, right? Like how can I create my own unique value, whether it's designing a slide my way in investment banking, or sourcing that deal in private equity, or creating that stock pitch in a hedge fund. I always love being a small businessman. And I learned that here in William Patterson, right? Working with Juliana and working with other professors. Like I created 3 independent studies when I was here. One with Dr. Francis Kai on whether mergers and acquisitions create or destroy value. I did financial mathematics, like actuarial science, with Donna Fengia. I did mathematical statistics with Dr. Fadia, right? So if you don't see what you want or exactly what you want, right, you can create it. If you put up your hand and tell people this is what I want to do, right, and work with them. So I didn't see the course I wanted on the university catalog, and I was able to create it, right? I was able to work with Dr. Andropoulos to do these free internships to get me to where I want to go. So just being entrepreneurial and being proactive, I learned it here.
And so what did you find out about the mergers? Do they add value?
Not all the time.
Not all the time. So I mentioned in the intro your role at Handshake, and I know that you took advantage of several internships opportunities here that you mentioned. How do you think the career development process changed since you were a student? And how can today's William Patterson students make the best use of resources like Handshake, like LinkedIn, to prepare for and launch their careers?
Yeah. So access has actually been democratized, and stuff has changed, and a lot of stuff has stayed the same, right? So when I was going for an internship for the first time, right, I had to put myself in front of Goldman Sachs, like go to this networking event in New York for diversity people with Dr. Andropoulos, for them to know that I'm a person who is qualified here in William Patterson. Now, Goldman through Handshake can post its job on Handshake, and every person who is qualified and meets what they're looking for in terms of diversity goals and other things can access those same jobs. So in that, and you looking at Handshake, you can see that Goldman Sachs is looking for a diversity summer intern or an investment banking summer intern. So in the past, right, you would have to have known about that internship through elbow grease and going over there, right? Today, you can just look in Handshake and you can see and you can apply, right? So access has improved. That's one thing that's changed. What has remained the same is how you differentiate yourself, right? So because everyone has access, it's made the market more efficient. And so you have to do more to like differentiate yourself. And now employers actually have statistics through Handshake on who responded to our survey, who spent more time looking at this, who clicked here, who clicked there. And they are shortlisting people based on activity. And so the old elbow grease where you would go to New York has been replaced with online activity. So things like what's a day like at Goldman Sachs, like a 5-hour course, that like an experiential learning they would put on Handshake. I would encourage students to spend time there. If they say write up a stock pitch, spend time there. So who is getting internships now are the people who are active. And so that hasn't changed. In the past, you were traveling to New York. Today, you need to engage with what they put there, not passively apply to jobs. Yeah.
It's interesting because I was in California talking with Jeff Weiner, the CEO of LinkedIn, and he said that they found out statistically that people who have a network on LinkedIn are 9 times more likely to get the job than someone who doesn't. But what's happening is that people who come out of Princeton, the more elite institutions, are more likely to have a network than people who are coming out of places like William Patterson. So it is interesting to see how these data analytics now are sort of leading to thinking about career paths and career launches, going forward. And Handshake is doing the same thing, but yet in a different way, right?
No, but I mean, Handshake would actually push people. So like you're from Princeton, right? There, like for example, Goldman Sachs, for example.
Right.
It would push suggestions for who you should talk to.
Right.
So maybe that's one thing, and that's why it's important to build this network. And when there are more of us out there, that Handshake will be able to push more William Patterson alumni to talk to students, right? But our students need to overcome that still, right? Just because there are not 20 people here from William Patterson, you should still try and find ways to make those connections.
Yes.
And
so alumni, if you're out there listening and you're on LinkedIn, endorse our students, it matters. So you generously support William Patterson students through your philanthropy as well as your time and expertise. So why do you choose to give back to William Patterson?
like I know, like just students here work, right? And they're not more than 24 hours in a day, right? And I know that if you give that $2,000 a year, right, then those are hours somebody could be spending networking. Somebody could be spending in New York. Someone could be spending doing 21 credits to like differentiate their academic experience. And so I just feel like in my small way, I could free up time for William Patterson students to do more and go out there. And that's why I do it.
Excellent. So now we always like to close these with the lightning round.
Yeah.
I'm the 8th president of William Patterson, so we're going to stick to 8 questions. So some of these will be about your time at William Patterson and some about your life right now. It's the first answer that comes into your head and short. You ready?
Yeah.
Great. So what would the title of your autobiography be?
It's supposed to be short. Reinvention.
Reinvention. What was your go-to meal as a student?
Fried rice and General Tso's chicken.
Okay. Favorite study spot?
The E-Trade Center.
You're naming a new pet, William or Patterson?
Patterson.
You're buying a new sweater, black or orange?
Orange.
What was your toughest class at William Patterson?
Real analysis.
What is your favorite piece of William Patterson gear?
I have this big flag in my room now, like a massive orange flag with a WP on it.
Excellent. We love that. What is the single best piece of advice you could give to today's students, no matter what their major?
Like, know where you want to go and be willing to create a plan. And don't wait until the last minute. Like anything in life, just sort of figure out where you want to go and check the directions and make sure you're doing that every day as opposed to just like going through life like that.
So Kevin, thanks so much for taking time to speak with me today. I know you're incredibly busy. We're so grateful that you came to share your expertise and your story with us. And of course, thank you for supporting and staying involved in William Patterson. It's been great chatting this afternoon. Thanks.
Thank you. It's been an honor being back.
Thanks.
Thanks.